I think there was an NES in my house right when I was born, or maybe right after I was born.
I remember times where it would be like 4 in the morning. My mom would open the basement door and realize that I was still down there and see the glow of the TV.
I remember when I realized I had a problem. When I played Nintendo, I would have to jump whenever Mario jumped. And if he was going right, I had to kind of lean right.
Video games have been the most consistent presence in my life since I was 5 years old and got Super Mario Brothers.
I learned to read playing Final Fantasy games, IO games, that much. That's how I started, and I never stopped because games kept getting cooler.
Time is the thing that we have the least of, like the most finite amount of, and I don't want people to waste their time on something they're not going to enjoy. Like if someone spends 10 or 12 hours expecting a shitty game to get better, like they're never going to get that 10 or 12 hours back. Like that's time they could have spent with their family.
So the expectation that we should have, that everyone should have going into Q4, is that there's going to be a lot of reviews to do. There's going to be a lot of short timetables on doing those reviews.
I don't know when I'm going to get review code for anything. Optimistically, it'll be a week before release. I'm super excited when I get something 2 weeks in advance or maybe 10 days. Yep, that's from Ubisoft, which is blessedly early, and the embargo is release day.
Look at this mess.
I f***ing quit.
There's so many games, and they're all aside.
Reviewing games takes a lot of time, but it's like, you got an embargo to meet, so it's like from maybe 7 until like, I was playing Kingdom Hearts till like 3, 4 in the morning.
The worst was when I had to review Final Fantasy 13, and I had about 4 days to do it. And that game took me about 40 hours to beat. I slept for like a whole day after I finished that one.
The thing is, if you want to do reviews, I need them by embargo.
Okay.
I don't care how much you have to hate your life to make that happen. Like that sounds awful.
No, I gotcha.
What it comes down to is that I do not care about your problems. I mean, I do as a person. Like as a human being, I'm very concerned about your problems and I want you to be happy as a reviews editor. I don't give a shit about what your excuses or problems are. It's about you getting me your assignment on time.
It's hard to plan out for how long a game is going to be. You never know that going in. Today, I am finishing up my review of Darksiders 2. I'm pretty much done playing it at this point. Then I need to actually write the review, so that's the most difficult part.
Well, for me, part of the process is trying to understand how a game works and why it works and what it's trying to do and why it succeeds or fails at that.
I think you need to be able to get across to the reader what that game is and why your opinion is negative or positive.
A lot of people depend on game reviews to decide, like what game they're gonna buy that week or, if they're gonna buy that game or if they're gonna wait. And that's a huge responsibility.
That doesn't mean you need to change your opinion, but it does mean that you need to think about and have sympathy and empathy for the people reading your stuff. Reviews are a big way that readers form a bond and relationship with the site as far as its voice.
It's going to be interesting working with Arthur on editing it. I don't know exactly where he's going to fall on how much I can put in, just how much I love the game versus how much I need to spend talking about the issues with it that I don't think are avoidable, like the problems that it has.
I submitted my review, and then about a day later, Phil got back to me, and Phil said, don't be afraid. And I'm like, why would I be afraid? So I opened the document, and this is it. It's just red. That's it. Like there's more red than black on this screen.
When I'm editing, I'm trying to make sure that what's there is supporting their opinion and that it's not just superfluous information. His
comments make me laugh. He's definitely a nice mix of like constructive criticism and like, I'm not gonna take myself, so incredibly seriously. Like I realize we're reviewing games. And he was like, you are not from England and rather is superfluous here. He's fun.
We have a review to go over. He spends way too much time talking about describing it and not explaining how that adds to the game. That's a problem. The introduction to the next graph is terrible. Lots of time spent just explaining what's there and almost no time spent explaining why it's good or bad. I think we need to send it back and have him elaborate where we noted, and then we'll ask for a revised draft by Friday.
One thing that's different about the way that we do scoring at Polygon compared to anywhere else that I've worked is we write our text without assigning a score at all.
Slapping that number on that review is a group effort. We'll sit down and we'll talk about the review when the review's edited and it's in its final form. And we say, well, based on your words and what you said, what number matches your opinion? And we sort of talk about it.
We're very focused on write what you believe is important to write. We'll worry about the number that we're attaching to it after that.
I don't like disliking things, which might come as a big surprise to some people on the internet.
There are people out there who will just go crazy, and you have to learn to ignore those.
The idea of calling someone like a derogatory term for homosexual, or saying someone is an awful person and should lose their job for not liking the game that you like, it bums me out to see people making deeply personal, hurtful attacks against people because they don't like a video game. Negative reviews are much more draining to write because I know that people really kill themselves to do these games a lot of times, and I don't want to be unfair.
I'll never forget it. I got an email from a game developer from somebody at a studio whose game I had given a negative score, like a bad review, and he told me that the studio was gonna like shut down. As shitty as that was, like I lost a lot of sleep over that.
In 2010, I reviewed Medal of Honor for IGN. I know that team worked really hard on it. A lot of people worked really hard on it, but it just wasn't that good. And so I gave it a 6 out of 10. The story that I heard is that when they saw my review, people at the studio were packing up their desks because they expected that the studio would be closed. And that's, I mean, I have to laugh at it because it's so ridiculous, but that sucks. It makes me feel like shit.
If we want to review and if we want to review games honestly, we have to ignore that. Like we have to come at it from this perspective of we're talking about the game as the game is, not we're talking about the game and also these people have money at stake, so we have to worry about them. Arthur and I tweet a lot about how much work we have to do, and it is an incredible amount of work, but it is also pretty awesome and fun.
People won't always agree with you, but they need to always believe that you mean exactly what you're saying. It's important that people believe that you believe what you say.
Video games are so hard to make. They take years. There's a human side to that doesn't get nearly enough attention.
The story of the people who are making those games, those stories automatically have a higher interest level. They're going to have a broader reach.
Russ is not the stereotypical video game journalist. It provides him with a much different insight into the stories he covers.